Currently, I am living at my parents' place, but it's about the time when I bought my apartment. It was cozy and I wanted to set it up with all the furniture and stuff. I ordered all the necessary furniture online, beds, sofas, and chairs out of excitement, but there was a missing piece to complete the picture of my new home. It was a cabinet and I needed it to set up my stuff in it. I searched online, but the ones I liked were extraordinarily expensive. Finally, I found one which was a classic antique and wasn't that expensive. I was eager to seal this deal and messaged the owner to finalize the price for that. To my surprise, didn't get any response for about a week, and after that, all of a sudden while I was on my bed and about to sleep, the doorbell rang at midnight. I was shocked as I wasn't expecting anyone and no one was supposed to ring the bell. Anyhow, I approached the door and peered through the peephole of the door to see who it was, but there was nobody on the other side. I thought of not opening the door and going back to bed. As I turned and started walking away, I heard someone knocking at the door. I stopped where I was and turned my head towards the door again. I was scared now and thought of calling the police, but again there was no one as I turned around and looked through the peephole again. Then I stood there for some time so that I could open the door immediately if anyone knocked again. This time I didn't hear any knock or the doorbell, but I heard faint footsteps just outside the door. As I held my ear close to the door, I heard someone breathing heavily just outside. I opened the door immediately, but still, there was no one there. I thought that maybe some neighboring kid or a junkie was troubling me, and there was nothing to worry about. But right then, I saw a strange note under my feet, and it was written on it that I could visit this address to pick up the cabinet. It was really strange for me because I never shared my address on that ad, and just messaged under the ad to share the details. But mysteriously, getting that note at my doorstep was scary and horrifying. The next day, I visited the shop in person as its location was not too far away from my apartment. When I got there, I saw that the shop was really small, and that cabinet was already placed out of it. I tried to peek inside and knocked, but no one came. So, I went to see the cabinet, and as I touched it, an old man came out of the shop and told me to take my hands off the cabinet. I told him I was there to buy the cabinet and I got the note that he sent. The man refused. He neither posted any ad nor sent any note. I didn't know for what reason he was so rude and angry. I took my phone out to show him the ad, but to my surprise, the ad was gone. He looked at me angrily and said, "Do you want to buy this?" I said, "Yeah. That's why I am here." I gave him the money, and he kept it in his pocket without counting, and signaled with his hand to take the cabinet away. As he turned, I noticed that the man had a creepy grin on his face. I ignored him and took the cabinet to my place on a truck that I rented. I placed it in a corner of my apartment that I'd chosen just for it. I was happy, but felt as if something wasn't right. Anyhow, I slept that night, and while sleeping, I heard someone knocking at my bedroom door. I woke up and looked at the door, but there was no one around. I turned to go to bed, but when I did, it knocked again. I immediately turned to look at it, but still, there was no one. I couldn't figure out what the matter was, and on the third knock, I got to know that the noise was coming from the cabinet. As I opened a cabinet, a black cat jumped out of it and disappeared into the darkness of my room. I turned the lights on and tried to find it, but couldn't find it. I noticed a small drawer in the cabinet. A key was placed just beside it. It was strange that I hadn't seen it before. I opened it and saw that there were small bones, probably of a bird, and some dark black magic stuff in that drawer. I stepped back and it shook me to the ground. I kept those things in a plastic bag and threw them away the very next morning. After that, I went to work, and throughout that day, The memory of the previous night haunted me. When I got back home and showered that evening, the knocks returned, but this time they were accompanied by eerie and strange sobbing noises of a kid. I got scared and searched all over my apartment, but couldn't find anything until I got to the cabinet. As I got near it, the tapping sound had turned into heavy thuds that were shaking the cabinet. I opened it carefully and I was flabbergasted to see what was in it. It was a small child sitting in the cabinet with his head down and sobbing. I extended my arm towards him, and he swiftly raised his head, started laughing creepily, and grabbed my throat. I struggled to close the doors of that cabinet, and the child disappeared as I closed the doors. I was lying on the floor coughing my lungs out. I opened the doors of that cabinet again, but there was no one in it. I was angry and rushed to that shop immediately to ask him. I started banging on its door, but no one was coming out. A man passed by and asked me what the matter was. I said I bought something from this man, and something was wrong with it. He asked who sold it to you. I asked the man who lived here or whose shop was this. He said a man used to live in this place a long time ago, and used it as a shop as well. He was a drug addict and a single father. He used to torture his kid, and one day while he was drunk, he locked his kid in a cabinet in his home and took an injection. It didn't go well, and he died of an overdose. Unfortunately, no one was able to retrieve his kid, and he died as well in the cabinet. Since then, the cabinet is said to be cursed, echoing with screams and thuds every night. I couldn't hold myself together after hearing that. What have I got myself into? I said to myself. I tried to live with that cabinet for a week, but I started getting mad and the curse had expanded from the cabinet to my apartment. My father came to my place and took me back to my childhood house. Now my neighbor often calls me and tells me that he is hearing screams from my apartment. Is everything all right? But it's been a year that no one has been in that apartment. If this story sent shivers down your spine too, hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe the channel for more of these stories. And remember, darkness can hide in the familiar. Trust your instincts, and stay safe out there. Until next time, sleep well.